Hello Pisces, welcome back. It's so good to see everybody. This is a 2-month forecast. We're going to be looking at September and October 2025. If you need any of the previous months, you can always go to my main channel page. But for now, we're going to focus on September and October. You can always use my readings for Sun, Rising, Moon, and Venus. Let's move on to channeled messages. Before I begin every reading, I like to tune into the sign that I'm going to be focusing on and see what comes through, just pure psychic information. In my meditation, I saw a beautiful purple flower, and as I kind of pulled myself or my vision back, I saw that it was a thistle. And thistles are very misunderstood totems. At the core, they represent strength, resilience, and the ability to stand up or defend themselves. So like the Strength card and the Seven of Wands, and also just a little bit of, when I think of the flower, which is all like purple and blue, it's like the awakening here of the crown chakra and third eye. So I would also put a dash of High Priestess energy in there. So to me, it's a beautiful totem. However, in some places it's invasive, and in many gardens, people don't want to see that flower show up. They want their other plants there instead. So sometimes there's this feeling that, it's not always understood or welcome. But know this, it is powerful, it is resilient, and it can thrive in places that others can't or other species can't. So you'll see it popping up through the pavement or on the side of the road where there's just gravel or poor soil conditions. So even if you don't receive the support you need over this 2-month period, you may still thrive despite all of that, and much to the chagrin of others. If you need to stand up for yourself, you have what it takes to do so. If you're trying to launch something, it has a good chance of taking hold and spreading in the best possible ways. So this is a good time for growth, development, launching, and again, sort of like standing up for yourself, finding your voice. Pretty much, there's a lot to love when you think of the thistle. So as we take a look at this 2-month spread, I'm going to look at the germination and the sort of flowering phase for you. Because, by the way, sometimes this can be a biennial, so it can take up to 2 years to flower, but we're going to look at 2 months. And I want to see what's kind of germinating in September and what the yield or the blossom is going to be in October, because it feels like that's going to nicely connect to the next 60 days. So let's give the cards a shuffle and see how all of this is coming into play. As always, I like to kick off the reading with a little bit of love from Apollo, who is just hanging out in the background. Let's give him a pat on the head, and then we're going to shuffle the cards. All right, take a moment, please. Close your eyes. If there's anything that you've been thinking about or worrying about, with this inhale and exhale, I just want you to release it and send it to the horizon. Nice deep inhale. Let it go. Trace a circle of light around your body with your mind's eye, and let's welcome in angels, spirit guides, and ascended masters. All right, let's begin with your catalyst. So the catalyst helps you make a necessary change in your life. And here we have a symbol that would be connected to either the star or the hermit, because it's shining a light in the darkness. So the caption on this reads, guidance, wonder, and dreams. So whenever there's a beautiful, resilient, resplendent symbol like this and it's reversed, it's basically an encouragement not to hold back. So if you want to go and seek some guidance, by all means do that. But the two areas where you might be holding back is the wondering and the dreaming. And wondering as in thinking like, I wonder what I could do next. What if this is possible? The imagining energy that you would get when you have Two of Wands, where you're holding that globe, you're looking at the future, and you're thinking, why not? And indeed, why not? I really want you to make some time to cultivate the dreams. Because a dream, like any of the ace cards in tarot, is potential. It's the spark, but you have to keep fanning that flame in order for it to ignite into this beautiful energy that we see here. This is also connected with attraction. So if you ever wondered, why do the fireflies light up at night? It's a mating call, basically. So just like the lover's energy, this is you going out into the world and saying, I'm really passionate about this. Who else is too? And that's how you can view cards like Lover's Six of Cups, and in this case, the Firefly. Share your passion, share your charisma with others, and it will be an attractive force that brings in what you need. But there's a little bit of shyness, there's a little bit of hesitation. And as we take a look at this forecast, I hope to help you unravel that so that you can embrace all the great stuff that wants to come through. If you're new to the way that I organize this 2-month spread, let me break it down very quickly. We have the past, present, and future influences for September and October right here in the top. We have karmic energy here and destiny over here. In the middle, we have a connecting card and a potential block, and then we have summary cards for each month. Let's go ahead and get started with the karma. So, karmic energy, what's coming through that you still need to resolve? So it is this energy of being grounded, very appropriate for a plant metaphor since we had the wonderful thistle energy coming through, but putting down some roots. It feels like for some of you, it's been a goal, a challenge, or something that you've been putting more energy in than usual to feel this sense of, I've got this, right? And maybe you've also been deciding to put a little bit more energy into fixing and creating a stronger grounding when it comes to your money, your resources, making sure that you're not always running up against the clock or the budget. So all of that is comprised within this. The other thing is taking care of yourself. And this is one of the quintessential cards for mothering and maternal energy and birthing and creating. But depending on where it's at in the spread, it can indicate a tendency to do that for everyone else except yourself. So one of the big karmic takeaways, I think arguably the most important one, is not to sort of deliver so much or give so much that there's nothing left for yourself. Also know this, you have the power, the strength, and the wherewithal to make something happen. This is one of the most powerful and best cards when it comes to business creation and development. So right off the bat, I'm feeling very good about the work that you've done, but there could still be a little bit of hesitant energy that we see here with this firefly reversed. It's almost like you don't want people to notice or see, and yet everything about the firefly is like purposely conspicuous, like the star. So let people see what you have to offer. Feel free to stand up for yourself and articulate your hopes, your fears, your boundaries. All of that is coming forth in this beautiful karmic energy. All right, let's go ahead now and take a look at the past, present, and future energy for the first of the 2 months. We're going to be looking at September, starting again off with the energy from the past. So we have the Tower coming through. Tower moments can actually be advantageous. Sometimes it could be a new job, birth of a child, something that you've been meaning to launch, create, or initiate. And so for those of you that are on the heels of a positive Tower moment, the encouragement with this is don't lose track of how far you've come. Don't disconnect with your purpose and your goals, and basically just take a moment to catch your breath and be present. For some of you, the Tower is helping you avoid the Ten of Swords moment. Let's look at this for a second just to kind of like get a sneak peek in the next card. So we see someone walking away from a painful or possibly a toxic situation. That is going to come here in this energy, which is the Tower. So making a necessary change, unplugging or disconnecting from something and saying, enough is enough. Other kinds of Towers, you can decide to quit your job. You can decide to get a divorce. You could move physically from one place to another. Sometimes you're not the initiator. Someone else may lay you off, make you redundant, or divorce you or something like that. But no matter how you look at it, the Tower is a change that ultimately, in the long run, should benefit you. It's one that's been a long time coming. And the opportunity in a Tower moment is to embrace it and say, how can you make the most of the change? Because there always is that silver lining. The dust will settle, and after the Tower comes the star. So you're just basically one step away from the silver lining or the clearing. But we have to get into this energy first, the Ten of Swords. All right, so this is the presenting energy for September. And the Ten of Swords, as we see here in the reverse position, is saying it's time to let go. It's time to walk away from something. There could be a situation right now that is also coming through, and it's almost aggravating an existing pain, something beneath the surface. It could be like PTSD, but it could also be an echo of something that happened before. This time around, you're smarter and wiser and more present, and you can choose to not take the bait. And that is the powerful Ten of Swords that we see here in the Light Seers deck. The person is not on the ground. They're not in a pool of blood. It's not a dark scene. It's the morning after. It's saying, you know what? Or it's even not even going there. And that's the powerful message here is you don't have to repeat a cycle. That being said, you may find yourself towards the middle of September in the middle of an argument or a challenging situation where you're trying to find your words, choose your words wisely, and to make sure that whatever action you take, you're going to be proud and happy about that in the long term. So sometimes it feels so tempting to just, say the first thing that comes through your mind, but it's important to not do so. One of the best methods to avoiding putting your foot in your mouth is to basically put it all on paper and draft it out. Walk away, literally like what we see here. Draft it. It's better if it's written. It's okay if it's typed. Don't actually do it in an email or a text program because there could be an accidental send. Make sure that it's in something that can't be sent. And then just save the draft, walk away, sleep on it. Come back the next day with a fresh perspective and ask yourself, do I feel the same way? Is the hurt still there? Or has the distance given me some perspective? Even if the hurt is still there, you have to wait until you're at a more neutral space before having the communication. Because emotions can short circuit or trip up your words, and you won't be able to eloquently say what you need to say. So wait until the emotions have calmed. Wait until you are sure that you still feel the same way. And then once everything is clear, once the storm, the dust, everything from the tower has cleared, then you can communicate. And there is a beautiful silver lining here in the Six of Wands. And in the future position for the month of September, we have success. But there's something unexpected or even anticlimactic for some of you about this. So let's break it down. The Six of Wands is something you get to decide for yourself. Those that watch this channel a lot, you know that I believe strongly that success is subjective. Each of us can define it differently. For some of us, it might mean, achieving a certain rank or getting a certain amount of money or a certain amount of respect. For others, it's the impact you make on the world. For another group, it might be the internal discovery and the healing that you do there. There's no right or wrong. It can be a combination of all of these. So I would love for you to sit with yourself this month in this beautiful karmic Queen of Pentacles energy and ask yourself, what do I think is successful in my life? What do I want to do that I would still kind of like consider a successful endeavor? How am I going to make this happen? And then if somebody says something hurtful, you don't have to pay it any mind because you know yourself. By the way, this was reversed, but I want it to be upright. So you will know you have to know yourself. And both of these cards, this one is walking away from an argument, and this one is walking towards an opportunity. And when you don't get aggravated by whatever this is, you're able to better walk towards that opportunity. Notice in this card that there's a lot of outstretched hands. One of the things that's going to be very important here is, think of it this way. When you achieve a certain level of success or visibility, there's more scrutiny, there's more criticism, and you can't take it all to heart. Because it really does feel like if we look at, there's only two cards here that are tricky. The rest of these are very good. We'll get into the Hierophant in a moment, but this is powerful, this is powerful, this is successful. So all we have to do here is to release something that doesn't serve your highest good and not take that sort of energetic bait that the Ten of Swords is trying to serve up. So please do take care of yourself this month and don't spin your wheels in something that just isn't worth the time and energy. Okay? If there's anything that you set into motion at the very beginning of this 60-day period, we actually see the first bud of success. I mentioned that I wanted to see where the germination was and where the flowering was. It's starting to open, but not fully opened towards the end of September. As I'm kind of peeking into the next month, it feels like the following month is when some of that beautiful flowering starts to happen. But it's within reach. Don't rush and don't push yourself if it doesn't feel right. You want to give yourself time. All right, let's take a look at the takeaway for, again, the month of September. So as we're taking a look at the big takeaway for the first month, we have the Hierophant. I love that we have a younger version of the Hierophant here. We don't have like the old papal figure with the two disciples and the two keys. We didn't even have a key on this one. We just have someone who is trying some new things. So one thing that comes through loud and clear for September is this is a time where it's almost important, if not crucial, to think outside of the box and to define your own, not just criteria for success, but your own goals, your own rules, and kind of figure out what feels right for you. This is like a growing up or maturation sort of energy that I get here. But you can do this at any stage in life. So the Hierophant, have you ever met a very young child that just seems like they're wise beyond their years? And sometimes you meet an old person and they're very foolish. So age doesn't matter. That's the takeaway here. Wisdom can be gained at any stage in life, and it sometimes is better to abstract it from the physical aging of the body. So this month, whatever age or stage of life you're in, you have a newfound wisdom. You also have this youthful energy here. Whether or not the body is in alignment with that, it doesn't matter. I see energy, vitality, and wisdom contained within this. So that's the takeaway. And we're going back into the thistle. Strength, but sometimes being misunderstood. So because you don't fit neatly into a box, because people can't put a label perfectly to what you're doing or what you're trying to do. A couple of quick notes and then we'll get into the center cards here. Take care of yourself. Know that sometimes you have to choose what's right for you, and that means stepping away from something. Pay special attention to your body and to anything that might be going on with emotional or physical stress or pain. We'll look more at that when we get into health. If you do that, you're poised for success, and you have what it takes to land this sort of like vision, project, or opportunity, okay? And we have the light that follows the tower. This is the star. It wants to shine, okay? Now let's move on to the connecting card between all of this. How is September and October going to kind of bridge or marry up? So we have the Knight of Pentacles. He's taking a step back because it's reversed. He's asking himself, is it worth the energy? Is it worth the time? He's also asking himself, have I explored everything that I wanted to? Because sometimes we get so dead set on just doing something one way because we set a goal, months or years ago, or maybe even decades ago, but we lose track of what matters right here, right now. So I encourage you, if you've not taken a break for a while, to take a day, take an afternoon. If you can take longer, please do that. Maybe a holiday. And think for a second, what do I need? How far have I come? Whenever you're making goals for yourself, whether it's lifetime personal growth sort of goals or tactical goals at like work where you're trying to figure out with your manager what your next step is going to be, part of that is looking back. We don't spend too much time doing that, but the connector this month is saying, take a quick gaze backwards, see how far you've come, and see if there's anything that you need to do. It's an accountability checkpoint. The other thing that might be happening right now is expenditures are too high. You're putting too much time or energy into something or someone, or you're spending too much time or money. And so this is an encouragement to pull back a little bit on that expenditure and save. Save for yourself, save for the future, because as I was looking at October, there's a lot of bright spots, okay? And that's pretty much everything for the connection. It's a pretty awesome card, I have to say. So let's now see what could potentially block you. And it's not anything to be feared. It actually makes a lot of sense here. So your block this month could be friends and family. And you're asking yourself, what? Or you're asking me, Nicholas, what are you talking about? Peer pressure, family expectations. Maybe there's a lot of social engagements, and I just talked about kind of like too many expenditures. It could be coming from this. Your dance card is too full. So don't be afraid to pull back just a little bit, to say no as necessary, so that you have enough for yourself and you have enough to go around. And in fact, taking a little bit of a sneak peek, we actually see the Six of Pentacles here in the future state in October. So better to learn the lesson now. We see growth and balance being a central theme to the month ahead. And one natural place to really start the work here is in having good boundaries in all aspects of relationships this month. Friends, coworkers, family members, loved ones, all of that. And by the way, there's one beautiful energy that could come through. I said towers can be good. You could fall head over heels for somebody. So the fact that we have this card coming through upside down, and on the tower, I'll find the traditional one while we're talking, but on the traditional tower, you actually see people thrown through the air, head over heels. So I'd like you to slow down. Don't go into a relationship too quickly. Really get to know what people's goals are, who they are, because sometimes we have those rose-colored or rose-tinted glasses, and they can obscure what we need to see. So in the tower, we see someone falling head over heels. And because this is upside down, it's head over heels. There's a lot of head over heels here. So emotions could be pulling you towards someone or something before you have a chance to intellectually and intuitively scope it out. Take your time, okay? Now let's move into our next month. We're going to shift into October. And the first thing that I want to look at is the energy from the past. The first message we have here in the Seven of Pentacles reversed is to take your time. Good things take time, and it's really important to understand that growth and progress and work is happening beneath the surface. Beautifully illustrated if we look at it in the upright position. So you can see all the roots here. This is a sapling. There's not as much work being done above the surface as there is beneath. So if you just met someone and you're wondering, like, why is it taking so long to kind of like for that person to warm up? Maybe they're getting their footing as well in this new situation. As many of you know, I have a rescue dog here. I've had him for 8 years. He's almost 10 years old at this point. Apollo took a moment or two to warm up to me because he wasn't treated well in his previous environment, and it took a very long time before he trusted me. So just like it took a minute for Apollo, if you're in a new relationship, a new job, anything of that nature where there's some issues from the past, someone might be nursing some wounds, you might be on a rebound, whatever's going on, give it time to heal. That also works for the body itself. So let's say you're recovering from a physical injury or a financial hardship. Nothing is going to change overnight. It took a while to get in, it'll take a while to get out, but every day is progress. We do see him putting this sort of healing hand above that. Patience, kindness, leading with integrity, leading by example, even if no one else has done that for you. That is also a part that we can carry through from the previous month. A couple of warning signs, or a couple of just notes, I should say. Don't overextend yourself. Seven of Pentacles often comes through in a reading after like a savings account has been extinguished. Maybe there was a debt that was difficult to pay off. As I said, there could be an injury that is taking a while to heal. So we want to make sure that we're putting more into the healing and recovery than we are into the expenditures. And quite literally, we can read it as be mindful of how much you're spending in it from a cash perspective, okay? Less is more, and there's an encouragement here to be more frugal than you might normally be. Okay. The other thing that is coming through during the month of October is emotional sensitivity. And it is almost like a roller coaster. There are some days where it feels like you're on top of the world, and there are other days where it's very challenging. It's vital, especially in the first 15 days, to focus on taking care of yourself and letting that out, like talking to someone. If there's emotions that have been pent up, there has to be a great way to channel that. It can be through therapy, exercise, meditation, rest, artistic endeavors, whatever you want. It's not going to be like putting more work into the equation. It's more things that bring a sense of tranquility, solace, joy, and healing. It's going to actually help that Seven of Pentacles growth happen even faster than you think. There could be new love coming into your life, and it's intense. Perhaps a water sign. We actually have a few different, we have water and earth that seem to keep popping up in here, but whoever might be coming into your life, are you ready? We'll look at that when we go into the expanded forecast, but right now it feels like the timeline that you have in front of you is pretty packed with things that you have to focus on, and then you have to take care of yourself. So easy does it. I think that relationships shouldn't be priority number one. Self-care is really entering in as that, okay? Intuition, your own creativity, and your own empathy are just like, it's kind of like this firefly. They're lighting up the sky. So that's an attractive force, but it can also be something in the long run where you feel exhausted because people are like, oh, I feel great around you. I want to share all of this. And then you feel like you're the trash person, right? Taking it out, to the curb. You don't need to do that. It's not your garbage sometimes to take out. All right. As we look at what it's all about in October, finding the balance. And that's a good thing. We don't always need it to be the Ten of Pentacles. This card represents, for the most part, a very nice equilibrium of give and take. It also represents having more than enough and finding perhaps that there is more than just some of the other things that we talked about, the trappings of success, whether it's money or visibility. Sometimes having independence and free time and an ability to rest and do other things, that constitutes richness and success. So this is finding a balance in all aspects of your life and realizing that sometimes less is more and sometimes more is less. So focus on what matters the most, and you may find that you're richer than you realize, okay? Let's take a look at the takeaway for this month, and then we'll focus on destiny. So what we're looking at in October is, for many of you, this is actually good that it goes down one notch here. So this is a lot of intensity, Queen of Cups in reverse. The Page of Cups in reverse is saying, okay, I'm starting to find a way to communicate my wishes, my needs, my desires, my boundaries, and do so in a way that doesn't feel like it's argumentative or it's just me finding a way to be strong, assertive, and powerful, like the thistle that I saw earlier. Whether or not you're looking for it, relationships are entering into the picture. So one of the big sort of personal growth opportunities over this 60-day period is, how do I balance all of this? And how do I make sure that I'm not losing myself? So taking care of yourself and making sure that you're not getting lost in someone else's story or doing everything for them. You matter too. It's not like an either or. It's just making sure that you're also a part of that equation. Now let's take a look at destiny. And for destiny, we have an upright Page of Pentacles. So this entire period has brought you from a place where you might be doing things for everyone else to a place where you're finally ready to receive. And not only that, but articulate. I want this. I need that. No, this isn't right for me. So thoughts, hopes, fears, ideas. And a page is a perfect way to wrap up the main part of the reading because it's saying, like, I'm ready to go the distance. I'm ready to take it to the next step. There could be some good news, like a letter, an email, a phone call. Someone could come to you and express interest. Romantic, professional, or even just, platonic, but there's an interest here. Are you interested is what this represents. And it feels like you've done the work this 60-day period to stay balanced and also have the sort of wherewithal to figure out, is it what I want or is it what friends, family, society wants? Like, I think it's really important to take care of you, okay? We're going to go so much deeper into this. We're going to look at an expanded forecast where we go into health, wealth, and love. We've already looked at destiny. We're going to start off first with the energy of health, which is your mind, body, and spirit. I need to shuffle and pull the cards for this expanded forecast, so let me do that. Card for health. Card for wealth. a card for love. All right, let's begin with the health card. So for health, you have mimicry. Very interesting. So one thing that this can represent is finding and using your own voice. So we can literally look at the throat, the thyroid, the voice box, everything that's kind of connected with the throat chakra, or we can go more symbolically and energetically into finding the confidence that it takes to speak up. So whatever resonates more for you, we're looking at voice and articulation. Be yourself. It's good to be inspired by someone, but if they try to make you a carbon copy, a facsimile of them, say no. And if you try to just sort of like copy and paste, also pump the brakes on that. This is a chance for you to use inspiration as a starting point, but to very much create and evolve your own voice, your own vision, and your own approach. One last note, when it comes to doctors or anybody that's giving you advice, the mimicry card could mean that they're just kind of saying the same thing every time or saying the same thing to everyone. And you want someone who's really tuned into you, giving you a unique and personalized approach. So in other words, get a second opinion. If you feel like someone's just phoning it in, get a second opinion and make sure that they're truly invested in your well-being. All right, let's take a look at how everything is breaking down over these 2 months. I think the biggest opportunity to lay a firmer foundation and take care of yourself exists in September. And what I'm seeing here for some of you is a decision to move on, move up, or move out from a living situation or a relationship. The Tower and the Ten of Swords can represent breaking down, sort of like a breaking down of communication. It can also be even something that is caused by storm or natural disaster. So maybe there's like a leak in the roof, or there's a foundational issue, a crack in the foundation. There can be lightning damage, water damage, basically an act of God or nature. In this case, you have to separate yourself from that situation. There could also be something that is unhealthy. Maybe it's mold, or there could be some sort of toxin in the air or something like that. Whatever that might be, absolutely heed that warning, get the distance that you need. In a relationship, just arguing, fighting, and this sort of like agitation. A work situation, you could be burning yourself out, working to exhaustion. So whatever that Tower and Ten of Swords energy is for some of you, pay attention to it. As I said, there could also just be some good stuff coming through. You might have just gotten into a marriage, just gotten into a sort of like a new job, or maybe birthed a new project, an idea, or maybe had a baby. All of these things create a significant shift. And sometimes, particularly after birthing a child, it takes your body a while to heal. So whether you're getting in or out of a major situation, you must pace yourself. And that is the most important thing. And the rest of the month, I feel like it's the first 15 days of calibrating, recalibrating. The rest of the month looks pretty manageable. We actually see you landing on your feet or getting into something where you're feeling like, all right, this is the direction that I want to go. I know what I don't want. I know what I do want. And then you create that structure and organization. Cleaning the house is also something that is important. These are like or polar opposites rather. This is a mess and this is complete order. So you might be in the middle of renovating or cleaning or reorganizing, and I see that as well, okay? It's a lot more manageable when I'm looking at the energy of October. We actually see growth, recovery, balance coming through, a little bit of emotional healing to be done, but by and large, things are pretty good. You may also have some chronic pain or fatigue, or even some like a need to go to like a chiropractor or get a massage. This can be lower and upper back. You want to definitely take care of your spinal health over the course of this 2-month period. Also, don't overwork. It won't be worth it. You'll make a mistake or you'll just get sick, and we don't want any of that, okay? So self-care is key. This is a time where one size doesn't fit all. Just because something worked for your friend or for your neighbor or your coworker doesn't mean that the same will work for you. This is really important when it comes to changing up your diet, exercise, etc. Always work with a doctor, and don't just copy something because it's what's popular. You have to kind of tailor something for you. All right, let's move on from health to wealth. For wealth, we have a beautiful energy coming through, It's the goddess, and the goddess would be connected to Empress energy. Also a nice complement to what we had here with the Queen of Pentacles. So this is a period in wealth where you want to pay a little bit more attention to stepping into the spotlight, to dazzling people with your passion, with your charisma, with your own ability to sort of like put your stamp on something. So this is a month to shine. Let's break it down, and I'll look at 5 major categories and try to steer you in the right direction. Let's begin with those that are employed. Remember what I talked about, where there is a month where there's a lot of growth and then the flowering happens here. So this is definitely the more prickly or thistly of the 2 months. And let's talk about why. I'm going to start with those that are going through the most challenging, and then we'll work our way up to the easiest energy of how this could be interpreted. A tower energy can be something like a merger of 2 companies, a new boss coming in. There could also be something that kind of like crashes and burns. So like, let's say there's a project that just falls apart. It's a challenge. Whatever this is, it's a challenge. Know this, it's bigger than you, and it's not because of you. What we see here is the processing of the challenge. And remember, there is a way to kind of walk away and not absorb all of the pain or the stress. That's the big takeaway. Something big is going on for some of you, and it's beyond you. And you can control only what you can control, which in some situations is just stress management. Take care of yourself. Now, a couple of other notes here. This can also represent a poor work morale or environment. So maybe there's some infighting, people competing to get ahead, someone who doesn't communicate well, maybe someone who even gets argumentative when you offer feedback. What you want to do is reframe it in the idea that we're all here to be successful and try to make this happen, and remind them that there's no sort of like winning or losing, you're working together. You may have to go above this situation and get some help. We have 2 kind of higher up energies here. Yes, you can step into a leadership role, but you may need help from above, okay? So environmental stress, work stress, personal stress, changes in the organization, or just something that maybe got off to a rough start, but it does end well. Whatever this is, it feels like it's bigger than it is, but then you end the note on an exhale. So keep breathing through the month and trust in that fact that you can land on more solid ground. Sometimes something just has to come to a close. One thing that I really like about this period of time is this. So again, this is the beautiful firefly. This is some star power that's coming through. It's a light in the dark, just like the Hermit card. And you really need to use this energy to help transmute this. So this could help set you up for the success cards that we see elsewhere in the spread. Be the light. Be the common sense. Lead by example, even when other people are misbehaving. Also, try to find the silver lining. So if there is some major changes happening, maybe this could be exactly the pivot that you need to get to a better position. And sometimes having a different boss isn't the end of the world. I've been in jobs where 3 or 4 times my superior changed. And each time that happened, I had a different experience. A couple of them resulted in growth in a positive way. So you never know. It feels intense, but then it ends up being better than you thought. So I'd rather have this energy here than here. And that tells me that you can weather whatever storm, figuratively speaking, might be going on. Let me see if there's anything else here for those that are currently employed. I think that's pretty much it with this. I think as we look ahead, things are looking much better. As a sort of overarching lesson here, don't push yourself to exhaustion. Start to pace yourself and find that perfect balance. Emotions are running high throughout this 2-month period, so find external outlets outside of work, whether it's your friendships, I should say, or like learning something new or an activity. Something besides work is important. Work-life balance. Relationships could be interfering with your ability to concentrate. A birth of a child could be one of them. A new relationship, new living situation could be another part of it. And so you just have to really work this month at taking a deep breath and not letting something kind of get out of hand, energetically, emotionally, etc. What I love about October, though, is things are starting to come together. There's a lot more teamwork here. There's a lot more people coming through, better resources, better balancing of resources. So this doesn't end up breaking everything. It actually is just what's necessary to recalibrate and find a better balance. So that's pretty good overall. Let's move on to entrepreneurs. Here's what I see. First of all, you may be working to the point of fatigue, burnout, or exhaustion. Take a step back. The last thing that I'd like to see is either burnout or sickness. I feel like you're putting too much pressure on yourself, and there's a fear of failure that isn't warranted because the outcome is success. This is more distracting thoughts. Take a step back, get your perspective. This is a month to restructure and reorganize and reallocate. Look at your human resources, look at your investment of time and money, and balance it out. The balance sets in here, but you begin the process here. So basically, structure and organization are your main focus in September. In October, it's going to be really important to just get real about how much you can put into things. And we see balancing being very, very important here. So I think that you might have to pull back a little bit on maybe how much you're going to deliver. So if you have a lot of products or services, a little bit less, do a little bit less, but do them better. If you have a lot of outgoing costs, see if you can stagger them so that they're not all happening in October, that you can actually put them out over a few months. And if you're launching something, maybe it launches in a series of releases. So there's like a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Because if you try to do it all in October, it's not as exhausting as what I see here in September, but it's still a lot. So pacing yourself, putting it in tiers and phases is going to be very, very helpful. Not only that, it's going to make you happier in the long run, and you'll have more to give in future months. For job seekers, I definitely like the energy of October better, but as we're looking at September, I can kind of give you some timelines here. I think the first 10 to 15 days are difficult because there could be people that are traveling. There could be just an outright rejection. There may be some disorganization in one of the application processes that you engage with. You know what? These are blessings in disguise because you don't want to go to a place that's disorganized. And if this could even be like an auto reject. There's some weird stuff now where like things are dealt with AI basically. Like you put it all in the system, and sometimes there's a problem in the code and it just rejects a perfectly good resume. Why waste your time at a company that doesn't have a human doing human resources? So there might be a couple of rejections, but then I see like third time's a charm. Or we could look at the third week in the month, third or fourth week where things start to kind of magically connect. I'm seeing a more traditional structure here. The Hierophant is a place like government, educational institution, or something that has a very rigid structure, very traditional sort of value system. So you might be going into corporate. That's something more corporate if that's what you want. I do see an opportunity there. If none of this gels, if you're like, Nicholas, I want to wait, take care of yourself. This is a great month to learn something new, take a class, and just take a step back if the budget provides that sort of opportunity. Because what I see here is more opportunities knocking in the month ahead. And at least 2 that really connect with what you're looking for. From a budget perspective or from like a compensation perspective, it's okay. It's more than what you expected, not everything that you want. So a little bit of compromise there, but like I said, with the 6 of Pentacles, it's finding out like, well, maybe I won't have as much pressure in this job because I don't have to work overtime, or I don't have to carry a second phone because they're going to call me at all hours of the night, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one thing that I'm picking up on here, is that it might have like different benefits other than what's baked into the job contract. I'm not getting that travel is necessary. That's something that comes up a lot, but I'm not seeing it here. So it may be closer than you think, but the first 3 or 4 weeks of this, 2-month process, it feels like you just want to lay low. And it's really going to be the second month where things start to happen. I will say existing networks are where it's at. And this Knight of Pentacles, which is a connector card, is saying, take a step back and look at former classmates, former coworkers, people that you've had a connection with before, because they may be able to get you into this tight-knit 10 of Cups energy. You need an inside connection for this. And don't be afraid to be the sort of bossy person that says, hey, would you mind making that introduction? Okay. All right, students. In September, I mean, this makes sense. That's the beginning of a school year for many of you. A bumpy start. Some of you may have signed up for a class that just doesn't gel, whether it's the professor or just the organization of it. Maybe it's more complicated or not complicated enough. Something around the overall structure and organization doesn't gel. And in this situation, it's often better to drop, to transfer, to somehow change up the schedule, and better to do that sooner than later. There could also just be like stress and maybe just a cold or flu or something, a little bit of a flare-up that happens because of stress. So definitely be mindful of that. And then it feels like you land on your feet. And then I really like the energy of October. A lot of social energy coming through. If you are looking for love at school, we'll look at that more when we're doing that, but it feels like you could meet somebody. Also, the friendship energy just all across the board. So a lot of new people and a lot of new opportunities, a little bit of a bumpy start, but you actually end on solid ground. So pace yourself, okay? Retirees. Health is the general kind of like fly in the ointment or thorn in our side as we're looking at this 2-month spread. So for some of you, you may decide to do an elective surgery. This could be because we're looking at chronic pain or fatigue. Maybe there's like knee surgery or something like that where it's been hurting for a while and you're like, I'm going to do it. I actually like the 6 of Wands on the heels of this. It looks like you've pushed it to the point of flare-up and pain, because that's what you can literally see it in the cards, and there'll be a successful outcome. You're still going to be healing into the next month, but by the end of this 60-day period, you're on solid ground. So I do see like an elective surgery. For whatever reason, it's coming up here, even though we're not looking, at health at this point. I'm seeing it in health for you. The other thing that I see here is increased focus on financial stability. You may decide to get out of something like sell a house, or there might be something that's just not worth the stress. Maybe you've decided to retire this month, in this period, even though the title is retirees. Maybe it's like fresh, brand new. So it takes time to adjust. I think it is important to get realistic about how much you need and how much you want. There are opportunities to find efficiencies, like, do I really need all of these streaming services? Or, do I need all of the amenities in this apartment or whatever? There might be some ways to, pinch a dime or quarter here and there and make a little bit more money, okay? And other than that, what I see is a desire, I think, for many of you to want more connection with like community, friends, family. And so budgeting your time is important too. Finding a way to just sort of make room for more fun in your life. That's really what's calling out here. All right, let's move on to the final category in the expanded forecast, which is love. And the oracle card here for love is Abracadabra, which is now super popular because of Lady Gaga. But this is like a protection spell too. It's magic. It's basically the inner magician, and it's also protection. And so you may be finding that sacred bond with someone where you feel safe. And love at its highest form is that feeling of being seen, being known, and being safe. And for many of you, you either are starting to call it into existence, abracadabra, you're manifesting it, or you found it. Either end of that coin, this is exactly where we want to be looking, okay? All right, let's take a look at those of you that are currently in a relationship. Here's what I see. It feels like there's a lot of external stresses that are coming through in the month of September, and it's important to be patient with one another as you're going through this. A new house, a new living situation, a new child, all of these things could be coming forth. There could be an external stress, like the partner is going through a health challenge. There could also be even things going on at work or in the environment that put you to the test. Thankfully, we have beautiful cards that follow. A card of success, which I like, but the key to making this all work is taking a step back and making sure that there's some together time. Also, these two are related. There could be a family member that inserts themselves in the mix. Mother-in-law, sister, or just someone in the family that doesn't really have any say in the matter, but they think they do. So boundaries are very, very important in the month of September. As we look at October, things seem much more manageable here. Seven of Pentacles, Six of Pentacles showing better balance, but still some concerns perhaps over finances and just the general time. I think one of the challenges this month is together time. So if you can try to bring everyone at this, to the same place at the same time, even if it is just like a movie night where you order pizza and watch Netflix or something together, that's going to help because it'll give you a chance to mix and mingle and catch up and decompress. There's definitely a desire to decompress a little bit. Reconnect here. The abracadabra is chemistry. So the Magician card, which is definitely what I'm pulling together with the abracadabra piece, is basically chemistry and believing in one another. So I really think it's important to make room and time for that chemistry, for that one-on-one time. As I'm looking at all the cards, what's lacking from this? We have swords, but not the kind of swords that I want. I want to see like queen or king or knight of swords, and I'm not really seeing that. So make some time for communication as well. Don't do it, though, if you're in that emotional or sort of agitated state. It needs to be when you're neutral, when you're meditated, when you're clear. Okay. Moving on to single and looking. Can you find love? Yes, of course. However, I feel like September is a month to recalibrate and to focus on yourself. And the better month for seeking love is going to be October. We have a water sign. We have a couple water signs coming through and an earth sign as well. I think overall, though, creating balance in your schedule, having proper boundaries with existing people in your life, and focusing on the personal healing, those are the most important things. This is a great card for seeking love. Someone might catch your eye or be trying to catch your eye, but are you looking? Because if this card is in reversed, they may get, what's the best word, intimidated if they try, but they're not sort of being paid attention to by you. So also don't be afraid to be the person that initiates the conversation. It goes both ways. And that's all I have to say on that. Moving on to single and happy. It's a good time to be single and happy. What you can focus on right now is building, creating, learning. There's a lot of personal development energy that's coming forth. Of course, healing is a big part of this as well. And the sky is kind of the limit with this. So the abracadabra energy could be you deciding to put your passion into a new project, a new idea, a new venture, anything that really makes your heart skip a beat. All right, now is your opportunity to ask one final question, and I'll pull a card and see what Spirit has to say. Okay, so to a yes or no question, the Three of Cups is a yes. This actually represents good news and celebration. There's a couple cautionary notes with this, however. Don't pay too much attention to what others have to say. This can be a gossiping card when it's reversed. If you have an opportunity to welcome people in and be more inclusive, do that, because in the reverse position, this can be a clique. If someone won't let you into their clique or their sort of like private party, maybe it's better, because there's something about that exclusive or kind of like standoffish energy that's just, it's not worth your time. It's not worth your energy. This is a courtship card, and sometimes when it's reversed, there's a desire to jump straight to like commitment. But take your time, get to know somebody, get to know yourself, especially when we were seeing, like there might be some changes, then some dust that needs to settle. Don't push yourself, don't push someone else too quickly. There may be a little bit of rebound or healing energy that's at play here. Have some fun. That's the last thing. You might be denying yourself the joy, the fun, and the play that you so much deserve in this period of time. I hope you enjoyed this reading. It was my honor and pleasure to be able to pull it all together for you today. If you did like this, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment below. Let me know what resonated the most. You can also give me a follow on social media so you never miss out on any future readings. It's always my full name, Nicholas Ashbaugh, on all major platforms. And you can go to my website, nicholasashbaugh.com, to get all the official links if you're in doubt. If you'd like to show some additional support, you can leave a sticker with your comment below. You can also become a sustaining member. And this is a great way to become a part of the community, give back in a sustaining way, and really just make a significant difference. So thank you so much in advance. And that's everything, my friends. I just want to say thank you for being the best part of what I do here on YouTube. From my heart to yours, wishing you all the best in the days and weeks ahead. Take care.